It was just before dawn when the first call came in. A farmer in a quiet countryside village reported something strange on the edge of his property. A horse standing still for hours beside what looked like a motionless animal. At first, it seemed like nothing, but as the minutes ticked by and the horse refused to leave, the farmer knew something wasn't right. He pulled on his boots, grabbed a flashlight, and trudged through the dew-soaked grass. The closer he got, the more his heart began to ache. The horse wasn't just loitering. He was standing watch. Lying beside him in the tall grass was another horse, motionless, covered in mud, and barely breathing. The standing horse, a tall chestnut stallion with eyes full of sorrow, didn't move when the farmer approached. He simply shifted slightly, as if to make room, as if saying, "Please help him." The farmer knelt beside the fallen one and placed a gentle hand on his chest. The heartbeat was faint, too faint. The cold had begun to seep into his body. He must have been down all night. "Hang on, buddy," the farmer whispered. He looked up at the stallion. "You've done well. I'm here now." Within minutes, the local rescue center was on its way. By the time the team arrived, the sun was rising, casting golden light across the misty pasture. The chestnut stallion hadn't moved an inch. He remained rooted to his spot, his head bowed near his friend's. "Is he protecting him?" one of the rescue workers asked quietly. "No," the farmer replied softly. "He's guarding his heart." The rescue began carefully. The fallen horse was a gray gelding, older than the stallion and clearly dehydrated, cold, and exhausted. They wrapped him in blankets, started in 4 for fluids, and rigged up a sling to lift him. As the gelding was hoisted onto the trailer, the stallion began to move for the first time. He trotted alongside the stretcher, never leaving his friend's side. And when they tried to close the trailer gate, he neighed, a long, aching cry that pierced everyone's heart. "Let him come," the vet said. "He's not going anywhere without him." So they made space. The stallion walked in, gently nudging his friend's body, then settled beside him as the doors shut. At the rescue center, the team worked through the day and night. The gray gelding, whom they named Whisper, was in critical condition. But the stallion, whom they called Flame, stood by his stall, refusing food, refusing rest. Every few hours, Flame would let out a soft nicker, and Whisper's ears would flicker in response. "He hears him," the vet said. "He's fighting." For both of them. On the third day, something changed. Whisper stirred. A shallow breath. A twitch of the leg. The vet was the first to see it and rushed in. But it was Flame who neighed first, loud and proud, calling his friend back from the edge. Whisper opened his eyes. Just a little. Just enough. And Flame bowed his head, touched his muzzle to his friend's face, and waited. The battle wasn't over. Not yet. But hope had returned. And outside that stable door, the sun was rising once more. To be continued. Whisper's recovery was slow, fragile, and filled with moments of fear. The rescue team watched over him carefully, but no one watched closer than Flame. Every morning, before the sun had even warmed the earth, Flame would stand outside Whisper's stall, ears forward, eyes steady. He'd wait. And every evening, after the team had cleaned the stalls and dimmed the lights, he would still be there, watching, guarding. On the 5th day, Whisper tried to stand. He pushed against the straw, his legs trembling, then collapsed again. Flame neighed sharply from outside the stall. The vet turned to him. "It's all right, Flame. He's trying. That's what matters." But Flame wouldn't calm down until one of the handlers opened the gate. "He needs to see him," the vet said with a sigh. They opened the stall and Flame stepped inside. He approached slowly, gently, as if walking on broken glass. He lowered his head and nuzzled Whisper's neck. Whisper moved again. A twitch, then a groan, then a lift of the head. And then, miraculously, he tried again. With Flame beside him, Whisper pushed harder this time. His legs shook, buckled, but held. He was standing. Tears filled the eyes of everyone present. Flame snorted proudly, nudged Whisper's side, and walked a slow, small circle as if encouraging him to move. Whisper took one shaky step forward. It wasn't much, but it was everything. Over the next week, their bond only deepened. They were allowed into the paddock together, and while Whisper couldn't run yet, he could walk, side by side with the friend who never gave up on him. Visitors came. Some cried. Some stood in stunned silence. And some brought carrots, apples, and soft-spoken thanks. One little girl asked, "Why didn't Flame leave him?" The handler smiled and knelt beside her. "Because real friends stay." no matter how long it takes. But as Whisper grew stronger, something else began to change. Flame began to tire. He stopped eating as much. His coat lost a bit of its shine. The vet noticed first. "He's given everything to his friend," she whispered. "He's been carrying this pain silently." They ran tests. Flame had an infection, likely from staying out in the cold during those long hours beside Whisper. It had gone unnoticed. Flame never showed signs of weakness. He didn't want to be the one needing help. But now he needed Whisper. They moved Flame into a stall beside his friend, and for the first time, Whisper leaned his head over the divider and nickered softly, just like Flame used to. That night, it was Whisper who wouldn't leave. He stood beside the wall. He kept calling. Flame, weak but comforted, lifted his head. Their roles had reversed. And in that moment, gentle, quiet, full of unspoken love, it became clear. This wasn't just a rescue. This was a bond that refused to break. The fight wasn't over. But neither was their story. To be continued. For 3 days and nights, Whisper never left the side of his friend. He stood tall, even when his legs trembled. He stayed awake, even when exhaustion pulled at his eyelids. And he nickered, gently and often, soft sounds filled with hope, with memory, with love. Flame was quiet now. His breathing was shallow but steady. His eyes opened only for a few moments at a time, and always when Whisper was near. The vet did everything she could. Medication, fluids, warmth. But the truth hung heavy in the air. Flame had given so much. Too much. The morning of the 10th day dawned with golden light. The pasture was still. Birds called softly from the trees. And in that peace, something beautiful happened. Whisper reached over the stall, gently brushing his muzzle against Flame's ear. And Flame opened his eyes. Only briefly. Just enough. Then, with the faintest breath, he let go. There was no sound, no struggle, only silence. A silence so deep, it felt like the world itself had paused. Whisper didn't panic. He didn't cry. He stood still, head bowed, and touched his forehead to Flame's one last time. The rescue team gathered in quiet mourning. Some wiped their eyes. Others placed gentle hands on Flame's body, whispering their thanks. He saved him, the vet said through tears. And in doing that, he gave his own life. They buried Flame on a hill just beyond the pasture, under a great oak tree that overlooked the valley. A small wooden marker read, "Here lies Flame, a true guardian, a true friend." Whisper was there the whole time. He stood beside the grave until the sun dipped below the horizon. And when it did, when night finally fell, he let out a single cry, low, long, and filled with sorrow. But the next morning he walked. Then he trotted. Then, to everyone's amazement, he galloped. Fast and wild through the open field, the wind rushing past him like memories in motion. Some say he was running for joy. Others say he was chasing a shadow he could never catch. But the vet knew better. "He's honoring Flame," she said, watching through tears. "He's carrying him forward." Months passed. Whisper fully recovered. He became a permanent resident of the rescue center, an ambassador of healing, strength, and friendship. He would greet every new arrival with kindness, nuzzle the scared ones, walk beside the weak, and never let any soul feel alone. People came from towns far and wide to meet the horse who survived, who stood guard, who learned to heal, and to help others do the same. The rescue team sometimes found him standing alone on the hill, beside that oak tree, not in grief, but in peace, as if whispering to the wind, "I remember you." And the wind, it seemed, whispered back, "The end."